It is 11:40 at night. A woman is lying on top of her bed covers, fully dressed, her phone resting face down on her ribs. Her partner hasn't texted since 3 in the afternoon, and she is white-knuckling the silence in her room like she's holding a plank underwater. If she asks her friends for help, they will hand her the exact rule everyone hands you when love gets scary. Give him space. Play it cool. Let him come to you. She is trying incredibly hard to be good at this, but the longer she holds the silence, the tighter her chest becomes. The advice is supposed to make her calmer, yet it is making her want to crawl out of her own skin. The reason this popular advice feels terrible is because it was written for a completely different psychological profile. It works perfectly for the partner who feels crowded, the one whose alarm bell rings when you get too close. For them, distance equals oxygen. But prescribing that exact same avoidant soothing space to an anxiously attached person creates a dangerous reaction. You are taking someone who feels like they are drowning, handing them an inhaler, and telling them to breathe deeper. To understand why this happens, we have to look inside the nervous system of an anxiously attached brain when communication suddenly pauses. This graph compares two different biological baselines. Notice how the anxious system experiences a sharp, lingering spike in stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, while the other line remains flat. The amygdala, the brain's tiny threat detector, has fired long before logic even gets to the door. That chemical flood bypasses reasoning entirely. Heart rate climbs, breathing gets shallow, and the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic, effectively shuts down. The anxious partner is not being dramatic. Their body has biologically classified a delayed text message as a literal survival threat. Now look at the person on the other side of that delayed text. Often they aren't playing a game. They feel the pressure of a long day and retreat into quietness simply to recharge and feel like themselves again. Two people are existing in the exact same environment, having opposite physiological reactions. For the avoidant partner in the empty room, silence lowers their heart rate. For the anxious partner staring at a phone, that identical silence is a threat report. This animated flowchart maps a destructive loop that relationship researchers call the pursue-withdraw cycle. Telling an anxious person to give space acts as a direct catalyst for this exact pattern. Here is how it starts. The anxious person forces a performative calm, but the panic goes underground and leaks out sideways. It turns into a passive-aggressive test, or a pressured, over-explaining paragraph sent at midnight to see if their partner will chase. The avoidant partner feels this sudden spike in pressure and pulls back even harder, which then provides the anxious partner with the exact proof of abandonment they originally feared. The give space rule does not cure the relationship. It traps both people in an escalating behavioral loop, actively molding them into the most anxious, distant versions of themselves. If enforcing silence doesn't calm the anxious body, and chasing pushes the partner away, we have to ask what the standard advice actually omitted. It omitted the one psychological requirement that actually settles an anxious attachment style: predictability, and a reliable coming back. Setting a clear parameter around the silence changes the chemical response. If a partner states they need a quiet evening but will text in the morning, the nervous system learns what happens next. It has a safe rhythm it can trust. This explains why a partner who texts constantly but sporadically still leaves the anxious body on high alert. Certainty is biologically more soothing than sheer frequency. True relational safety isn't about eradicating physical distance. It is about clearly marking the edges of that distance so the gap doesn't feel infinite. So how do you handle the moment the panic initially strikes? The first step requires solitary work. You catch the moment the amygdala fires and name it. This is a false alarm, not a verdict on whether you are loved. Next, you use physical sensory grounding. You find 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear. This forcefully pulls the prefrontal cortex back online, turning the lights back on for logic to enter the room. Once the mind settles, you communicate the need for predictability directly. You explain your physical response to the silence, and you ask for a simple way to check in. You offer your partner a real chance to help, rather than handing them a riddle to fail. Your panic when a partner goes unavailable is not a character defect. It is a deeply ingrained, loyal survival reflex doing exactly what it was trained to do. You don't need to discipline yourself into wanting less. You just need a steady environment to finally feel safe enough to rest.